are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Ask the Instructor. My name is John Charisma, and the show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate every Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern Time. We're here live. You can always find us at tsre.us, as well as our whole library of content. So what we're talking about today is a continuation on what we covered last week. Last week, we were talking about starting a full-time career, and previous to that, starting a part-time real estate career. And what a lot of students are interested in is eventually getting to full-time, even if they're starting out as a part-time real estate professional. So today, we're specifically focusing on the top 5 tips for a full-time real estate career. And this isn't just something that we've came up with. These are pretty much the 5 things that will generally apply to pretty much everyone. Some of them more than others, but these 5 tips are based on our years of experience in helping thousands of people from over 40 countries worldwide get their Florida real estate license or advance their real estate career. So super excited to share this with you today. You can join us live right now at tsre.us/live. So let's head over right to the board and dive right into these top 5 tips. Now, if you do have any more specific questions about a real estate career, go ahead and call or text us. And that phone number is 813-333-2676. Call or text us at that number, 813-333-2676. Any questions you could have, you can speak with our advisors confidentially about starting a real estate career, about moving from part-time to full-time, to getting licensed, to taking the next steps to upgrading your license, to completing your continuing education requirements. Maybe your deadline is coming up very soon. Whatever that may be, reach out to us directly, 813-333-2676. So tip number 1 I have for you, and this is where we could help you out the most really, is getting the right qualifications. Getting the right qualifications, which number 1 means a real estate license. Pretty much everything it is that we teach here at the Tampa School of Real Estate requires a real estate license issued by the state of Florida. And in order to get that real estate license, you're required to take a pre-licensing course. This is the book that goes along with that pre-licensing course here. It looks kind of intimidating, but it's really not so bad, especially once you get through it. It might be a little bit trying as you go through it, but the faster you can go through this, the quicker you go through this, the easier it will be. And this is just the first step on your roadmap, on your journey of really you just getting the laws down and proving to the state that you know those. And that's why this can be a little bit tricky sometimes, just because there's so many laws, and a lot of the things in here don't translate to what you do on a day-to-day basis in real estate, which could also make it a little bit more difficult. But again, we're here to help you overcome that. We have very high success rates, very high pass rates, and we also have exam prep tools to help bridge the gap between what you actually need to study. We have workbooks, all kinds of things like that. So again, our advisors can help you out, go over the details for what you might need to be able to complete that qualification right there. If you have a degree in real estate or you're an attorney in good standing with the Florida Bar, you actually are going to be exempt from the course requirement, and you could actually go right to the state exam, which maybe then that exam prep information could also be beneficial. But that's first and foremost. Number 1, a real estate license. Number 2, and we're going to make this really just number 1, part B, is that it is active. And for most things, you're going to want to be active with a broker. Now, there's multiple options of how you could activate your real estate license with home builders, developers, property managers, so many different things. But a lot of these are going to be more employee type of roles compared to with a broker. You're typically more of an independent contractor. Be your own boss, more entrepreneurial, what most people are usually looking for from a real estate career. Now, again, there's some great opportunities, some great careers that exist with full-time options, especially if you do have a real estate license, because that adds additional layers of compensation that you could earn. And that's really what about having the right qualifications is having that real estate license, making sure it's active. So number one, you're legally compliant. Again, that's the first thing that you're learning about in this pre-licensing course here, is essentially what you need to be legally compliant in terms of practicing real estate. But beyond that, qualifications, I would also translate beyond just an actual credential. That's what this license and this license status is. That's your credential. But you're also going to need knowledge, and specifically practical knowledge. And it's that practical knowledge that isn't really so much of a qualification in and of itself, because let me break it down with, first and foremost, what you should do once you do get your license in terms of additional knowledge, qualifications. So this course right here is called post-licensing, and it's actually due by your renewal requirement. And I just pulled the stats on this, and 90% of real estate agents right now that are due by the end of this month here are deficient in this 45-hour course. And it's just time gets away from a lot of people, doesn't happen. But the more important thing going on there is there's so much practical knowledge in this course that if you do put this off and delay this, you're not going to end up being successful, most likely. You probably could figure it out on your own if you're willing to get back up enough times after you've fallen. And I speak from experience. When I started my real estate career, it was a little rough at first because I did not take this course right away. I waited for the renewal deadline, and I put off this practical knowledge because I didn't think it was going to be practical knowledge. I thought it was going to be more knowledge like when I got my real estate license, the much earlier version of this course here, basically, to get your real estate license. Laws, rules, basic information. A contract needs to be in writing and signed, for example, whereas this much more practical, real world, dealing with people. Instead of a contract has to be in writing and signed, yes, legally that's important to know for certain contracts. But now, how do you actually present an offer to your seller? How do you actually write up that offer? How do you position a property to sell? So that more practical knowledge. Now, this is not going to be your end-all, be-all, everything you need to know about real estate. That's not what I'm here to tell you. This post-licensing course is not going to be that. But number one, it is a requirement. Number two, you don't want to put off this requirement because of that practical knowledge that's going to be invaluable to you when you're trying to execute on these next tips that we're going to be talking about. So I'll bring this up again in just a moment here. But how do we go beyond that with the right qualifications? Today's video is titled The Top 5 Tips for a Full-Time Real Estate Career. Well, maybe that career for you eventually means upgrading to a broker status. With a broker license, a broker credential, so that way you can open your own firm. And you could recruit other agents, experienced agents, new agents, whatever you want to build your real estate brokerage into. We have more and more real estate licensees every single day that are making the choice to upgrade to a broker. And it's not always because they want to open their own office. It may also be because they want to have the title, because you could stay at your current broker and be what's called a broker associate. A lot of people don't like the term sales. Sales is a very generalized term, and as a sales associate, honestly, it doesn't matter. There's a lot of people that are very successful. But again, going back to qualifications, the fact that you are a broker associate, it doesn't just give you a better title, a better sounding title, being a real estate broker associate rather than a sales associate. Already sounds more trusting. And you could poll people if you want, but I guarantee you they would say, if you ask them what word sounds more trustworthy, salesperson or broker, 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, they're going to tell you broker sounds a little bit more trustworthy. Broker sounds like someone's on your side, whereas sales could mean anything from the teenager working at the retail store to somebody selling multi-billion-dollar whatever, you name it. So big word means a lot of different things, whereas broker, that is usually, again, more tied to investments, more tied to finances. Now, the catch is with this, you do have to have 2 years of active experience. So if your goal ultimately is to open your own brokerage, you will need that right qualification of getting a broker license. You know, a lot of students come through our doors here at the Tampa School of Real Estate, and they have these giant dreams of what they want to accomplish. And the law literally requires 2 years. So to be able to open your own firm, now, yes, you can start a team. You can do a lot of things while still being a sales associate. But ultimately, if you do want to have that freedom to be able to open your own office, that's going to require at least 2 years of experience. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you've sold anything. The law doesn't require any sales right now, as the law stands for getting a broker license. It just requires 2 years of your license status being active. And once your license status has been active for 2 years, you're eligible to apply for a broker license. That'll also require a broker course. But then when you get that broker credential, there's also broker post licensing, which I don't have those books. No, I don't have them in front of me at this moment right now. But the broker post licensing, there's 2 courses that we have, 2 30-hour courses that total 60 hours. You need to do both of them. You need 60 hours for a broker license. And with that broker license post licensing that you do after you get your broker license, that's required just like the sales associate 45-hour that's required right after you get your first sales associate license, your first license. That's practical knowledge. When you get your broker license, the pre-licensing, the state exam, all that stuff that you're doing to get the broker license, again, the emphasis is more on laws and rules. For post-licensing, the emphasis is on the practical information. So in the broker courses for post-licensing, you're learning brokerage management. So if you actually do want to open your own firm, that is literally a course which will include a textbook if you're doing one of our instructor-led programs for that there. And that textbook, it could be your guidebook that you could write in. And even if you're doing the text-based online course, you could write down, take notes, and so on and so forth, because this isn't just information that you're doing to satisfy your renewal. Our goal here is to make our courses as impactful and influential as we possibly can. Now, again, there's parameters and regulations that we have to comply with for FREC hours and so on and so forth there. But ultimately, going through our courses, we're here to be more than just a requirement. We're here to get you the knowledge and the skills it is that you need. So those qualifications actually mean something. Not just that you have the license, but that you understand the information that grants you that license. And that's where getting that broker license, even if you're not a broker, you know what it takes and you have what it takes to be a broker, even if you remain with your current broker as a broker associate. And again, those are going to be more impressive qualifications. And then there's even further courses and designations and so on and so forth. We actually have a very extensive continuing education catalog that has all kinds of different courses, from learning about taxes to social media to assistance animals to you name it almost. The catalog is growing. It's great. There's a lot of really great content to be able to learn information as well as knock out those continuing education requirements that you'll have after you get your real estate license. Now, tip number 2, and this is really going to be the most important thing beyond being legal and being knowledgeable and being competent for what you're trying to do. And again, that's where the courses come in. But now actually applying more so what you're learning in those business courses, which are your post-licensings, whether that's your sales post-licensing or the broker post-licensing. And especially in the sales post-licensing, it's actually Unit 3 where we cover business planning and time management. So this unit is literally my favorite unit in the entire post-licensing course. And not because at the time it was the favorite unit, just because at the time, for me, it was really rushed going through the post-licensing. It was also so long ago, I couldn't even tell you exactly what was in it from back then, because I've taught this course so many times since then, so it kind of conflicts the memories on it. But business planning has always been a portion of it. And this isn't just something, again, that you're doing through the course to be able to complete it, to check the box. This is something that you develop as your roadmap for success. This is your roadmap for success. So number 1, you got to put yourself in the right vehicle before that roadmap makes sense. And that's where, again, tip 1, your qualifications come in. Having the right licensing status and everything to be able to comply with the state, because no part of our plans involve you going to jail or losing your real estate license or being fined or any of those things that could happen if you break the laws and rules that are set out that you learn about in your pre-licensing course. So you'll learn all about how to be compliant in that pre-licensing course. And again, your post-licensing, that's where you're getting into the business planning and goal setting. And what defines success for you could be extremely different than what defines success for somebody else. So again, today we're focused on full-time, but even if your plan is part-time, the business plan is going to be very important. Maybe even more important because you have limited time to work with. But especially in the full-time, because let me share with you a quick story. When I went full-time in real estate, when I quit my day job, it was a couple months into me having my real estate license, and I planned on quitting my job. I just really wasn't ready for it at the time, but it's what I believed I needed to do to be successful in the moment there. Looking back on it, it wasn't. It just gave me time to realize I've got no idea what I'm doing. I don't have a plan for success. And because I didn't have a plan for success, I wasn't successful. Not at first, at least. And I didn't even know how to put a plan for success together because I didn't know what was the recipe for success. I didn't know the basic. Again, I did my pre-licensing course, got my real estate license, and look, I had gone to school for marketing. I had been in sales at a Fortune 500 company, ranked top in the company, and so on and so forth. I had ran my own businesses before, so business knowledge, sales knowledge, marketing knowledge. I'd worked in customer service and did great with that. So I thought I was checking all the boxes, but I did not have the specific recipe for real estate. So look, even if you've taken some business planning class in college, you could have done some business planning course in school, taking it, but if it wasn't specifically about real estate, it's going to be hard to build that recipe. And that's what your business plan should be, something that helps you accomplish the goal, to flawlessly bake a cake every single time because you've got the ingredients dialed in. And so going back into the business planning and time management section that we've got in here, let's see if we can switch the camera so you can kind of just get a little feel for this here. And this is just a very basic example, one of the early examples that you're seeing on this here. I don't know if that's going to show up as clearly. Oh, we're not on the right camera here. There we go. Perfect. So yeah, you can kind of see there what we're talking about. And this is just a very basic outline. It gets a little bit more complex than this. It builds upon it as you go through it. But essentially what you were just looking at there is just a table of really breaking down what the amount of money is that you want to make, that you want to earn, that you need to make maybe to cover your bills, plus the money that you want to make. You could split it up, and because the thing is, the more you understand these numbers, the more you understand how these different steps of the plan affect each other. And really what it is it's the process, the cycle, the system that is your business. Because if you don't have a recipe, a process, a cycle, a system, whatever you want to call it for your business, and you might have all these different terms in your business for different things. You have a process and you want to repeat that process through this cycle, and you have these systems, and that is your recipe for your success in real estate. That's all about what your business plan is here. And so if you go into real estate, you get your license, you go activate it at some broker. This is what I did when I got my license. I went and activated with a broker, didn't do post-licensing, didn't have a business plan. Because when I took business planning courses in school, I was like, well, this is just a bunch of waste of time. And when you don't have specific things, specific parameters, specific applicable information, it can seem like a waste of time. I wasn't able to distill anything down that I learned from that to real estate. It was far too complex. I had no cost of goods, or I wasn't building products, all these different things you learn about, these different scenarios in school. You know, doing real estate, it's a service business. It's a service business. And so what that means there is, at least at first glance, it seems like infinite profitability, 100% margin. That's your commission, that's all the money you make. But no, there's going to be some cost to your systems, to your processes, to how you generate your business, what that recipe is, whether that's splits with your brokerage, maybe you're getting your own tools and software, maybe you have the realtor association involved, depending on whether or not you're operating as a real estate agent or a realtor. Different options, different benefits, different pros and cons, different cost levels. And if you just go into this without having a plan, maybe you'll wander into success. But that's what you're hoping for when you just go into this, just saying, you know, let's see what's their plan for me. And the thing is, if you just rely on everybody else's plan for you, does that benefit you the most? No, it's going to benefit them the most. And you're probably in this position because you don't want to be on the short end of the stick anymore. So if you want to be on the long end of the stick, that's going to require you having a plan. That's going to require you having clear goals and a recipe, an outline, the steps of the process. Another great key word here. This plan is very simple. What's important, though, that it's relevant about real estate. And look, I'll read through this whole chart right here just to give you an idea. So again, you've got your earnings goal, how much you want from sales, how much you want from listings. So how much you want to work with buyers, how much you want to work with sellers, and understanding how much commission you need to generate from those two different pools. And again, further calculating that out into what your typical earnings would be on an average sale. And then you further outline your contacts, and then how many of those contacts turn into leads, and how many of those leads turn into appointments, and how many of those appointments turn into contracts, how many of those contracts turn into closings. And you lay out all these steps and you're doing the calculations so you could manage and you could see, because if you're doing this full time, if you're doing this with enough business, with enough momentum, especially as you start to scale bigger than yourself. And again, you don't even necessarily need a broker license to be able to have a real estate team. You could be a sales associate and run a real estate team as long as you have an active license with your broker. Now, it's again keeping your broker on the same page, because at the end of the day, the broker is your top dog, so to say, in the standing, except for the FREC. The FREC technically is on top of them. They're the top dog. So you got the FREC, then you got your broker, and then you've got you and your business and your team if you're running more than just your own business there. Maybe you have assistants, maybe you have licensed assistants, unlicensed assistants. The opportunities are literally endless. And with the way real estate is set up, it could really be turnkey if A, you know what you're doing, and B, you're willing to take action on that information. But without a business plan, without the proper goals, it's going to be very difficult to be confident enough to take action. It's going to be difficult to figure out what you're doing because you don't have a plan. When the more you lay out, and you could really dive this and get this down to really every part of your business, to when you first talk to a buyer, and then what types of scripts are you using? What type of emails are you sending? What type of text messages are all part of your follow-up plans? So you're not playing a guessing game every single day of who should I call, who should I text. You'll have it laid out in your business plan, and you build this for your business. And every business is unique, and that's why you don't want just some sort of, spreadsheet you download online or what some real estate coach told you somewhere you should be doing. You build this around you and what you want to do, how you want to run your business. And you're going to make adjustments as necessary to be able to streamline your business, to be able to enhance your profitability, to increase your top line commission revenue, to decrease cost and expenses, to expand your reach. These are all different things you could be laying out in your business plan. And again, it's an evolving document. It's going to start off, it should start off in its simplest form. Don't waste all your time trying to plan every last little detail, because the reality is, until you start actually getting out in the field and testing your skills, testing your knowledge, testing your abilities, testing your performance, you really don't know what those trickle-down numbers are going to be, what those percentages are going to be, and what the fall-off is going to be at your different stages. So the more you become experienced, the more dialed in you're going to be. And if you're actually tracking this, you'll be able to spot what are the areas of weakness? What are the areas where you're losing more of those potential deals? And how can you influence that? What additional information, what additional appointments, consultations, phone calls, whatever it might be that you could have to be able to solve those problems before they happen. And that's where real estate gets really exciting. But if you don't have a plan, you're just trying to wander into success. You're just trying to stumble into success. And if you're doing that on a daily basis, that could really burn you out pretty quick. So if you've ever heard anybody talk about being burned out in real estate, I mean, it's great because you're your own boss. You make your own schedule. So, people just usually go on vacation on their back and they're good. But you don't want to be in a cycle of being burned out You want to be somebody that's like, wow, how do you do so much business and you could still travel around the world? How do you do so much business and still have so much time to give back to your community? How do you have so much business and still have time to spend so much time with your kids? Because if you have a clearly outlined plan and you're being the master of your plan rather than being the means of somebody else's plan, well, that's where things can really make a difference. Not in just your life, but in the people that you're able to impact as well. Because let's say you could build a real estate team. Well, you're creating opportunities for more people than just you now. And even if it is just you, every home buyer, every home seller that you're able to help accomplish their goals, it's a very rewarding experience. But one of the key things to be able to do that job, so whether you're in it for the money or whether you're in it for the rewards or the feel-good feelings, just a better way of working, whatever the reason is that you're into real estate, if you want to actually be successful with real estate, which is what is probably part of your plan, right? If not, it should be priority number one, because nothing else matters in your real estate business if it isn't successful. So priority number one is being successful. And number one, being successful can only happen with these additional things. So number one, you got to be licensed because it's not successful if you go to jail. So right qualifications. Number two, you got to have a plan because if you don't know what you're doing, if you're just trying to stumble into success, you're not going to manage your time well. But when you have a plan, you can stick to the plan. Now, especially when you're first building out your plan, at first it's going to require some changes. But if you're changing your plan more as a means for an excuse rather than just being more realistic or whatever it may be, that's where you could just justify it not working by just the plan changing. So that's not the point of this. You want to have the plan and you've got to stick to the plan, but your plan will need adjustments. But just be mindful, try to stick to it for a week. Whatever it is that you plan, maybe you plan to do 100 calls a day. Which, if that sounds like a lot to you, trust me, it's not. You could do far more than 100 calls a day. You could do more than 100 calls an hour, depending on how many of those people are actually answering the phone. So depending on who that list is that you're calling, and again, how warm they are, how receptive, how much they want to talk to you, how much you are talking to people on average there. But you could easily do hundreds of phone calls a day. Or you could outsource that to somebody on your team that's doing hundreds of phone calls a day, generating you leads ready to go for you to meet with on appointments. See how that's more of a plan? Who do you think is going to be more successful? Somebody that's got somebody that's making 300 phone calls a day and setting 3 appointments a day versus somebody who's going to talk to 10 people and not set a single appointment? So no appointments, no money. Because no appointments, you can't get to a contract, you can't get to a closing. You need closings to get your commission. So closings is where we get our money, where we get our commission. We don't get a commission for talking to an old friend, catching up with them, and just that being our one phone call. Well, I talked to old Bobby, and, Bobby's been such a great friend, and, I talked to him for a good half hour, and, we talked a lot about real estate, and they've got a house, so they're probably going to want to sell it someday. They're not ready to sell now. They actually just moved in there. They have a brother that's a real estate agent, but, they said, when they're ready to sell, they'll definitely give me an appointment. Is that all you have to speak for today? Now, you might say, well, John, how am I going to be able to do 300 calls? Well, if you're full-time in real estate, you're a full-time salesperson. You've got time to do that. Now, you might say, well, John, I don't want to do cold calls. Okay. Hire somebody to do those calls and book those appointments for you. There's tons of services out there. There's plenty of people out there that could do this. Figure out some way to compensate them. Or, if you want to go the more expensive route, you could pay a company like Zillow or Realtor.com for leads, or maybe you could talk to your broker and that broker has some sort of lead generation program. There's probably some sort of cost, some sort of commission split on those leads. There's also referral opportunities. So there's a lot of ways to generate leads. Don't get hung up on cold calling or door knocking or any of those direct face-to-face activities that can be intimidating. However, if you're looking for the least expensive, best return on investment ways of spending your time, especially as a new agent, it's any way you could get face-to-face. Whether you're brand new, whether you're the most experienced real estate agent in the world, our business gets done face-to-face. If all you've had is a phone call, that's not much business. If all you had is a text message, that's even less. If all you've got is an email, you don't even have a phone number, is this even a real person? Are you just emailing some AI bot that's from some foreign adversary that is just trying to waste real estate agents' time? I don't know. Could be a real person, who knows? But point being is that something like email is a very low quality, very passive form of marketing and advertising, and especially with things like AI. We're going to talk about that in a moment here. One of our tips here does involve technology. It's actually use technology, and there's so much you can do with AI that really makes a lot of the written communications, especially for early on in the prospecting process, something that you don't even really even need a person anymore to outsource this potentially. I've seen and even used everything from cold calling, all kinds of things that I've demoed to where it'll literally call people to where people could call in. So it's crazy the amount of technology and automation that it's out there. But we don't just have robots showing up to go sell houses, because this is something that gets done face to face. As much as this technology is out there and available, it still takes a knowledgeable professional to oversee everything that's going on here. We could just do it a little bit more efficiently now with maybe less help by actual people and help by technology in terms of what we're able to do from social media, content generation. There's all kinds of technology for that. And what that allows you to do is to use your time well, to focus on that most important thing here of face-to-face. You want to focus on the face-to-face time. A phone call is your next best thing if you can't get on a FaceTime or a Google Meet or something like that. But being in the same room, aka showing them a property, that's where we're a lot closer to commission than, let's say, we've only ever just talked to somebody or only ever texted them. So keep that in mind and focus on how you get the face-to-face. If you need to make 300 cold calls to get 30 people to answer and to get 3 people to get appointments with you, well, that's what the numbers are. And if you don't like that, then you want to either optimize your processes, maybe getting a better list so you have to call less people, or you know what, maybe you're like, well, that's just what I got to do until I find a better way, until I could bank up enough money to be able to afford Zillow leads, or I build a big enough network with other real estate agents that I have a consistent stream of referrals. And maybe you ultimately have multiple sources of lead generation. Because again, the things that are going to be your face-to-face, such as door knocking, going door to door, knocking on doors. Hi, I want to introduce myself. My name is John Carissimo. I'm with ABC Realty, and I'm here to introduce myself as a neighborhood expert. I'm literally just writing this up as I go off the top of my head. And look, if you need help coming up with a script, there's tons of scripts you could Google, and I mean, honestly, just go ask AI. Let's skip right to tip number 4 here. Use technology, because I keep talking about and referencing AI, and it's really amazing what is possible and what can be done with that with somebody who knows what they're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, you could be misled very quickly by artificial intelligence. Whereas if you do know what you're doing, you could work with it and use it as almost like you've got, I don't want to say a toddler, because the AI is a lot more advanced in terms of knowledge and training, but maybe a teenager. Maybe a teenager that you hired for your company that's new, that doesn't know everything yet, but they're ambitious, they're excited, they'll do whatever you say. So maybe not a teenager. I don't know who this person is. It's AI. And if, again, it's not super intelligent yet, it's not more intelligent than us yet, it really only knows what we could tell it to do. But out of the general intelligence that exists out there, there's a lot of capabilities to be able to save your time. That's really what technology has always been about, leveraging technology to save you time. Look, if you're maybe some search engine optimization expert, you might already be thinking about how you could generate leads from websites, from ClickFunnels, from lead pages, squeeze pages, whatever you call them. Opt-in forms, lead magnets, all those types of things. That works for real estate. But what doesn't work for real estate is not having a real estate license. So, you know, if you want to be able to cash in on this information, there's agents that have came through our schools for that purpose of just generating leads and referring the leads out to other agents. Because if, again, your business plan is going to need a source of leads, probably multiple sources of leads I would really recommend. One of those sources of leads can be referrals from other agents or referral services, because as long as they're appropriately licensed, they have the right qualifications, then you could pay them a referral fee out of the commission. So you're not paying money up front for the lead, you're agreeing to pay on the back end. So if this lead doesn't close, something happens, their finances fall through and they can't buy, whatever it may be, and they don't buy, they just decide they don't want to buy, they don't like it, whatever it is, you don't owe any money for the lead. But ultimately, and these are usually warm leads that are being handed over, so, you know, unless you mess something up, hopefully it does all go according to plan and it closes there. I will say that just overall, referral leads have been always more of a sure thing. In my experience and what I've heard from others as well, is referral leads have always been more of a sure thing compared to leads from other sources. So if referrals are not part of your business plan, they should be, whether that means giving referrals or taking referrals, just because they could be a really lucrative way to monetize your contacts if you're handing out referrals, or to be able to take advantage of somebody else's contacts and relationships. You're making the investment and having the practical knowledge and experience and tools and skill sets and everything to be able to do real estate, but you can only do as much real estate as you have people to do it with. So if you're not the one that's out there door knocking, lead generating, or paying for leads, or whatever's part of your plan there, again, the referrals can be an extreme opportunity for that. And you can even leverage AI for helping you generate newsletters or outreach emails or whatever it is that you're doing. You even have AI, there's AI chatbots now that can respond to people for you in real time to help you book appointments. That's one of the things they're really great at, is booking appointments, because they don't have to have all the answers. They can just kind of have some of the answers, or maybe not any at all. And you know, you're going to get all the answers when you talk with so-and-so. Let me just get you an appointment. And because it's conversational, it can kind of react and respond to whatever conversation is being input to that's where these little AI chatbots and whatnot, whether they're on text messages or websites, they could be a really effective way to be able to book appointments. You have more old school technology when we're talking about use of a contact relationship manager, some sort of CRM. You also have the tool that is the MLS. That's, I don't know which one I mean, technically the MLS does kind of predate CRM. Actually, I don't know. The black book, the concept of having a little black book. If you ever had a little black book that you kept people's names and contact info and maybe any notes about them, that's really just what a CRM is. It's your external brain that doesn't forget. So any of that information that you feed into it, and now with AI, there's like AI call transcripts that'll literally transcribe your calls, and that way it'll save it into your contact manager. It'll summarize it for you. There's AI that can attend meetings for you. There's so much that you do to be able to leverage technology to be able to earn more money with less work on your part. And that's where you're working smarter, where you're setting up systems, because that's what technology literally is. It's systems. It's helping you develop processes. It's helping you stay organized. And there's a lot of that is out there and available for you. And my last and final tip for you is committing to lifelong learning. I talked a lot about the post-licensing. We talked about the business planning in there. And, you know, that's great, but that's just your first step. That's just the first course that you do after you get your license. There's going to be further training that you can do with your broker. If you join the Association of Realtors, they also offer a lot of different training options. There's all kinds of real estate trainers and coaches. There's YouTube videos. There's Tampa School of Real Estate here every single Wednesday and Friday, as well as our online library of information to help you become a lifelong learner, to where you're constantly accelerating your knowledge, because that way you could learn about new things. You could learn about new trends. You could learn about new technology. You know, I remember just a few years ago that e-signatures, specifically before 2020, that e-signatures weren't even as widely popular as they are today. And now we literally have like AI that could do almost everything for us, which is crazy of how quickly things have advanced. So that's just one example. That's just the technology piece of that. But there's always additional information that you could learn, and as it relates to communicating with people, interpersonal skills, sales skills, marketing skills, so much of that depending on which hats you're ultimately wearing in your real estate business. It may be all of them. It may just be some of them. It may just be the captain hat, and then you've got people or systems or tools or AI for everything else. You could build that business. You could do it. It's more accessible than ever because of not just the access to technology, but the access to automation capabilities. You got the access to information and really almost being able to harness just so much power of technology. I don't want to say the full power of technology, but it seems like that I mean, how much more advanced can technology really get? Who knows? But anyways, being a lifelong learner to help you keep up on all of that. So look, that's about all the time we've got for today. I want to thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Ask the Instructor. We'll be back next Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern time, with more information to help you grow your real estate business, to help you better understand a real estate career, to help you better build the real estate empire of your dreams. So again, you have any questions, reach out to us, 813-333-2676. Again, that's 813-333-2676. Until then, have a great rest of your week. Have a fantastic weekend. Stay safe out there. Stay dry. Stay away from the high winds and storm surge and all that other stuff that's supposedly coming our way. So stay safe out there, and I hope to see you next Wednesday, 12 noon, for next week's episode of Ask the Instructor.
You are watching Ask the Instructor. Absorb the knowledge. Become the expert.
Have you been thinking about getting your Florida real estate license? Look, the process is probably easier than you think. We break it down step by step, how much it's going to cost, what it is that you need to do to get your Florida real estate license. Find out all of that and more at licensefl.com. Again, that's licensefl.com. So you just got your real estate license. How can you jumpstart your real estate business? The number one thing you should do before you do anything else is post-licensing. Now look, this is already a requirement, so you're gonna have to do it anyways, but here's why you wanna do it early. The sooner you do post-licensing, the sooner you're gonna learn the real-world concepts in post-licensing that will help you create a business plan, that'll help you plan for your success in real estate. Post-licensing is all about real-world topics that are usable, that'll help you grow your real estate business. And at Tampa School of Real Estate, we have the best post-licensing courses around. Find out more about how post-licensing can help you jumpstart your real estate career. Go to postflorida.com.
The most powerful tool to study for your real estate exam is the Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate. We've used our years of experience in preparing students for the Florida real estate exam to bring you the most powerful exam study tool available. In the Question Simulator, you'll be able to go directly to a particular unit so you can focus on the sections where you need the most practice. We have also included the percentages of each unit so you know which units are the most important for your real estate exam. Every question will immediately give you detailed feedback, which is almost always more important than the question or the answer themselves. After completing all the questions in a particular unit, you can go through question by question and review any that you've gotten wrong. You could also print out a report at the end of each quiz. The Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate is 100% mobile compatible, so you can practice with test questions anywhere you have your phone with you. Enroll now at questionsimulator.com and get ready to pass your exam.
Are you studying for your Florida real estate exam? If you are, you need to check out our Pass First Try strategy. You're going to love this. It's 4 steps that we break down the process to study for your Florida real estate exam. So you're set up to pass your Florida real estate exam because that's what you're studying for, right? To pass your exam. It's 4 steps. Number 1, you learn the information. You've got to learn this to be able to pass the exam, but it doesn't stop at learning. Step 2, you've got to reinforce the basic, simple, key concepts. As you learn this information, keep reviewing the simple things. You don't need to know everything, but you got to review these basic key concepts. Step 3, you've got to test your knowledge. The exam's going to test your knowledge, so if you don't test your knowledge in advance, you won't find out if you know what you think you know until you take the exam. And then step 4 is be confident and prepared, because even if you know this material, you need to be confident that you know the material. Check out the full strategy at passfirsttry.com. That's passfirsttry.com.